Okay, yeah, because you're like 73 and you look amazing. Okay, so like, I know I'm like 60 and look amazing.
Sure you do.
Down on the strip where the neon glows, there's a little shop everybody knows, where history's bought and treasures are sold. Gold and silver, stories untold. When the doors close and the lights dim low, Rick and Chum kick back, friends they get to know. Gold and silver by day, but at night, my friend, Pawn After Dark is where the stories and laughter never end.
Welcome to Pawn After Dark, where Rick and I chum it up with our buddies. And today we have an incredible guest, Lou Ferrigno.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing, Lou?
I'm doing great and happy to be here. It's great. I love pawn shop. I mean, it brings back my childhood memories.
Well, if you love pawn shops, you're in the right place. And I got good news for you. I'll give you a discount after this podcast. I'll go out and sell you something.
How much? How much?
What do you think? 60, 70% off?
Depends on the item. Depends on the item.
So you have quite the interesting story. I mean, as a child, I believe you were diagnosed at 75% deaf. Is that an accurate number?
Well, close to birth, but I had maybe 80, 85% hearing loss. So back then, as a kid, I had a severe speech impediment. At the same time, dealing with the hearing issue. So I used to have the old-fashioned hearing aid that have a strap around the chest, because in those days, they did not have what you call BTE, that's behind the ear hearing aid.
And you were born in 51?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Okay. So kids would punch me in the chest and make fun of me. They call me Deaf Louie, Deaf Mute. I would go home crying to my father. My father gave me another beat and said, "Don't come home and you can't fight for yourself." So then I started with comic book. I remember I used to go to the comic book store. When you walk in, I love the smell of the paper, the comic books.
Yeah.
You go way in the back, they have all the porn magazine, and the comic magazine. So I remember at the time I'm reading comics, I'm obsessed with it, like Spider-Man, the Hulk, and Superman. So, and right next to it was the old-fashioned pawn shop. And I remember my parents would go in there. I couldn't hear at the time. They'll be talking to the person at the counter, making deals. It's kind of interesting because I see all these different items. But it's funny that's how it all began with me, because this is back in Brooklyn.
I bet pawn shops were a little bit different back then. So, do you have any crazy experience as a kid? Do you still go into pawn shops today?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I live in Central California, and I love going there because I love collecting tools.
Mm.
I used to be a machinist, a sheet metal journeyman, but I love old vintage tools like wrenches, screwdrivers. I'm obsessed with it because it's history. Like, pawn shop, whenever you buy something, it came from someone else. It has history, but you don't know the history. But you're wearing something, you have something in your possession that brings back in time with somebody else.
I love stuff like that too. Like, I have a place up in Oregon. It's in the middle of a forest, and like, there was a pawn shop up there, and I walked in there, and I literally found, like, you can actually date the axes. It's an axe from like 1890s, and I polished it up and everything. And I just said, just to imagine, like, this is how they cut down every tree. No chainsaws, anything. They all have history. They're pretty amazing.
But it depends on the pawn shop. I mean, you're dealing with good people. Sometimes you're dealing with somebody that's not honest, with like shysters, something like that. But
Yeah,
generally,
I hope our show Pawn Stars spread a little bit of good light on pawn shops, because, like you said, there are some shady shops out there, but
yeah.
there's a lot of cool stuff inside of pawn shops.
Oh
Like,
yeah, it's great.
there's a point where it was hard for me not to take something home every single day.
Yeah.
I had to listen to Rick say, "That's coming out of your paycheck."
Yeah, it's an obsession. It's nice.
Yeah.
But here's the good news. When you buy something, it's with you. You fly somewhere, you go on a vacation, memories. You don't have you don't have the item with you. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
I like to have something that has history.
Yeah.
That's why there's just a lot of history here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
better
love
than going.
items Yeah, I love items with a story.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just look at it and, like, this. I mean, like, I just got a bottle of medicine from, like, on my shelf in my game room, and it's from like 1900, and the ingredients are morphine, heroin, and chloroform.
Was that supposed to be healthy?
In 1900, apparently it was. It said it cured everything.
My, how medicine has changed. So growing up, hearing impaired, and I'm sure the technology has come a long way. I know at one point I think you got a surgery in your ears to help you hear better. Is that true?
Well, I wore 2 hearing aids my whole life. Recently, about 3 years ago, I received a cochlear implant.
Hmm.
What's amazing about this, Rick, is the fact that you never lose any the hearing with the cochlear. It works with the brain nerves. Like the hearing aid, it raises your natural hearing. Hearing aids are great, but the cochlear gives you that clarity. Now I'm 73. And at the point, my age, you start to lose part of your hearing. Because a lot of people my age, they get frustrated because you can't buy a hearing aid off the shelf. It's something that you have to work with it.
Hmm.
And then, because a lot of people sometimes they deal with a hearing loss, they feel isolated, they feel very frustrated with themselves. But now with technology today, it's amazing.
And so, do you hear at a different quality now? What was that experience like once you got your surgery? Did you hear things you could never hear before?
Yeah, like for example, engine, outside motors, air conditioning. I'm tone deaf though, but it's much more magnified with the clarity fashion.
I bet that's an amazing feeling.
Can
Like,
you hear in crowds? Because that's my worst thing. If I'm in a crowd or anything, I can't hear nothing.
You can adjust the volume. You have background, meaning that you can adjust the background, like the crowd noise. You can adjust it to your level. You have what you call direct communication. It's called direct focus. Like I can adjust it. I can hear, for example, a person 30 feet away in a crowd. I can eliminate the noise behind me down to a much lower level.
well, we're definitely going to need to get the name of his doctor, Rick,
Oh, I know.
because I think
We
that will
we've already talked about
that'll
that.
improve your hearing. I think quite a bit.
Yeah.
So,
But you know, got its advantage and disadvantages.
that's what he says all the time.
Yeah, the advantages is that you turn them off. You have to listen to the BS. You can sleep. You have to worry about people bad mouthing you behind the back. I mean, it's like
Exactly
No,
what
I
Rick
tell
says
people all the time. I take my hearing aids out, and like, I don't hear the air conditioner turn on. I don't hear like the fan above the stove. I don't hear like, like it gets. I mean, I come home, I take my hearing aids out. It's quiet. I think the world is way too noisy.
Well, I do agree with you. Once you go home, my world is much quieter as well. So you are a man of many things. I mean, you had a crazy bodybuilding career, started lifting weights at a young age, making your own weights from,
Yeah.
what I've read and
Mhm.
saw. And then you won the IFBB competition twice.
Yeah, Mr. America, Mr. Universe, and one about Mr. Olympia with your favorite governor.
Well, speaking of Arnold, I mean, you guys had a pretty fun rivalry. You guys even trained together at one point, right? What was that like coming up in the early years with Arnold before he was kind of the governor, I guess?
Well, when he came on the scene, he was the first man that was over 6 feet because I'm tall myself, and he was my idol because I wanted to emulate him because he came from Europe, and especially that he had a broken had a deep accent, but he maximized what he had because people had the impression bodybuilders are all born, all muscle but no brains. So basically, that we had the chance to compete together at the age of 22 because he's put bodybuilding on the map. With the two of us in pumping iron, we showed the world what bodybuilding is.
Yeah.
Fitness. It's not just something that you read out of a muscle magazine.
Well, I mean, you guys both had amazing bodybuilding careers, and then both of you had very successful acting careers. So, I mean, that's got to feel pretty cool to be able to have, worked with someone so closely and kind of be going through the same things, have someone to relate
Yeah.
to in that.
So
fashion.
this is something I want to know. Okay, so you get the gig to be the Incredible Hulk in 1977, where there was no computer generated graphics. There was like no CG and everything. Like, I mean, so what? They just like whipped out the cans of spray paint and like threw a wig on you and just.
Well, the funny thing is I had to do my own all my stunts because back then they couldn't double me with anybody else because no one matched my size. Like today, computerized generation, you can do it. But back then, the makeup was like 3.5 to 4 hours per day. I had to be retouched all day. But what kept me going, it was the show, because every episode had a laser compelling message about life. And I knew that it's just something that was inside of me that reached so many people because people just love the show, especially that every one of us has a little Hulk inside of us. So we connected with that show. And I don't know if you know this, at the time when I did the pilot, Spider-Man and Captain America failed as a TV series. So my show was like the pioneer, opened all the doors. Now you have all these A-list actors playing the End Game, the Avengers. I think it was fantastic.
Yeah. Well, how did that come about, that opportunity to play the Hulk?
I was training for the 1977 Mr. Olympia competition. This was after pumping iron. So 6 weeks before, I was in the best shape of my life. I received a phone call. They said, we have audition for the Hulk. So I go down for the screen test, right? They said there's other actors trying out for the part. And they says, okay, we're going to paint you green. I said, wait a minute. So I found a way. They gave me some compensation because I want to get painted green, but I knew the characters were green. At the time, they were shooting the pilot with another actor named Richard Keel, who played George in James Bond. He didn't fit the part. He was big, but he wasn't. He didn't have the physique like me. I was hired on the spot, and the next day I was filming the pilot. The
No
next
acting
day,
experience.
never in my life. But what's interesting, I showed pantomime. That means uh, acting without speaking, show the emotions and sensitivity.
Mhm.
So that can be
Yeah,
easy for me.
because that came out when I was 12 years old, and I thought it was the most amazing because Hulk was one of my favorite comic books,
It's great.
and yeah, I mean, and it was, you know, so you did like 5 seasons, right?
Yeah, 5 seasons, 90 episodes.
Yeah, yeah, which I mean, especially back then. I mean, like, you know, we're talking. This is the 1970s. There's 3 networks. You or either make crazy numbers or you're just canceled. That's just the way it worked back then. And to get 5 seasons back then, because you would get at your height, you're getting 30 million viewers, which now this is how much the world has changed. Nowadays, you take Thursday night football, Sunday night football, Monday night football, you don't have 30 million viewers. And there's 100 million more people in the country now.
Wow.
That's how popular like certain shows were back then.
Well, I mean, the popularity shows because you're going around the country doing all these cons, things like Comic-Con and stuff, and you have lines of people that want to come out and meet you, get a picture, and get your autograph. How is going on the road all the time? Because I'm sure you have a pretty busy schedule.
It's work, but I get that instant gratification because I love interacting with the fan and make a good living. Because you can remember when I did the series, I got this from the merchandise. Zero. That's why when I sign stuff now, I mean that they pay a substantial fee and everything because the fact that, people at the time when I used to read comic books, like today, everybody reads comic books. Everybody goes to a Comic Con. Before you had comic convention, now it's called Comic Con, the pop culture.
Mhm.
It changed tremendously over the years. But I'm very blessed to be able to go to different countries, like my girlfriend and I, which got back from South Africa, Canary Island, Mexico City, Guatemala, all Comic Con. And it's interesting you meet all these different fans. As a matter of fact, 4 years ago, I went to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for the Stanley Comic Con.
Saudi Arabia.
Yet they built a convention center in 56 days, 250,000 square feet. When the show was over, they took it down. They dismantled it. But I went there with William Shatner, a bunch of celebrities. But everybody coming up, they had the veil, screaming, Hulk, 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 Stanley. I mean, it was like
Yeah,
That's got to be
It's
pretty
great.
cool.
It's gonna be pretty.
I mean, that's pretty fast. They can't even put a stoplight up in 56 days in
Yeah.
Vegas.
But you're also a sheriff.
Yeah, deputy sheriff.
I
20
mean,
years.
do you actually like go out there and arrest people?
I do a lot of search and rescue.
Okay.
I don't do general law enforcement because of liability, but I like to search and rescue because they're with people's lives. I teach weapons shooting. I'm a marksman. I like to do. I like to visit different sheriff departments, different states to show the support that that the other side being an officer, they get rocks thrown at them, they get attacked. I mean, it's not easy to be an officer, and especially the fact I've been deputized in 26 states.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What's it like being a marksman, actually? Let's talk about that for a minute, because I love to shoot. I like to do some long range shooting and obviously some, short range handgun shooting as well. I'm pretty good, but I wouldn't consider myself a marksman. Do you like to shoot often? Do you practice a lot?
Oh, I have guns and everything. I love competing with myself. Like, for example, the guns I have, I shoot my duty weapon, the 45 H&K. And you got to remember, when you shoot an iron sight, we have to shoot 5, 7, 15, 25 yards. And then after 25 yards, you have to shoot with the left hand.
Mm.
And you have to score over, I believe, like 230 to pass. And you got to deal in sometimes intense situation. It's not easy, but I just love shooting. I've been shooting since I was a kid.
Yeah, it's something cool about going out and shooting targets and then looking at a nice tight group afterwards.
My father was a retired police lieutenant. When I was young, he took me to a range. He said, we're going to go to the gun range, right? I was like maybe 80 years old, had these hearing aids and everything. And he said, put these headphones. He takes me downstairs. We go in the basement. So he's shooting with the revolver. It's a hell of a shot. So the target come close, and I see these 4 holes in the head. He says, you misbehave, the same going to happen to you.
I thought Rick was tough.
I mean, yeah, so that's how I got hooked on it.
Yeah, well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'm just I love shooting. I just love shoot, but I shoot all my old cowboy guns. You know what I mean? Like, most of the guns I go out and shoot are 100, 125 years old. I
What,
just love the I love the old
what about
lever
black
action.
powder?
What's that?
Black powder.
Not really. Well,
We've shot some cool black powder stuff on the show, though.
yeah, yeah.
I got to shoot a blunderbuss from like 1776. It was a double barrel, and this was very, very beginning of the show. I pulled the trigger once. I pulled the trigger again and didn't realize I had a short sleeve shirt on. It came up,
Oh my
and
God.
Yeah.
I was okay. It was a little stingy, but there's nothing like shooting a gun that's a couple hundred years old. It
Yeah.
feels so
Well,
cool.
some of my old lever actions, they're, I mean, we're talking 1770s. I mean, like, excuse me, 1870s. So they were designed for black powder. You can't put modern powder in; they'll blow up.
Okay.
So,
okay.
no, I still shoot those. And like the funny part is, if there's no wind, you shoot like 10 rounds, you can't even see the target because all the smoke there.
Yeah.
Uh,
You
So
remember,
do you?
you remember the TV series The Rifleman?
oh yeah,
I didn't know the lever action. I didn't know he had like a pin. Every time he closed the other lever, the gun the gun would fire. It wasn't natural.
Oh,
It was like it
yeah,
did so
okay.
fast, like a machine gun. But it's interesting. It was the mechanism, the way it was designed. That anytime he closed the lever, the gun would just fire.
Oh, that's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
pop, pop,
So I'm guessing you do some black powder shooting yourself.
I'd never done it. I've seen friends of mine that does it. Like for example, I used to come every year for the SHOT Show.
Hmm.
And it's interesting because it's nice because like in World War I, they taught people, the soldiers, how to shoot with air guns before you shoot for competition air guns. I do a lot of air gun shooting too. I have pre-charge, you fill with
Yeah,
it's phenomenal. I just love the competition with yourself. Like if you're going to shoot 600 yards, if you hit the target, it's you. It's not the
yeah,
person next to you. If you miss the target, you miss the target. It's interesting to deal with the wind factor, the
yeah.
scope. It's like a science.
Dude, there's nothing better than shooting a nice group at 600 yards.
Oh yeah.
I mean, anything over 500 yards, there's some math involved with it, so you feel really, really
What
good.
they got a competition, Camp Perry. They shoot with a Garand, 1,000 yards with iron sight, 1,000
With
yards.
iron
Sorry,
sight.
that's incredible.
I
That's
don't know if I could
Yeah.
see 1,000
I mean,
yards.
it's a fun competition. That, as long as you respect guns.
Yeah, no, I respect guns as well. I love them. I love to shoot, and it's cool to talk to someone else who enjoys stuff. So when you said, I didn't know you were a deputy sheriff,
Yep.
and then when you said you teach people how to shoot, I was like, wow, this is so cool.
hmm
I know you as Lou Ferrigno, the bodybuilder, the Hulk, but I felt like, hey, this is my opportunity to like talk to you about something that I really, really love as
Yeah, I've
well.
done everything. I love to motivate people. I'm a worldwide motivator speaker. I love giving back to people. Life is short. I'm enjoying my last chapter. I just want to give back. I'm very happy the fact that, it's America. We're here. We're having a good time. You have to enjoy every day.
So, on that note, the dedication it takes to live the kind of life you've lived, you grew up, young with a hearing impediment. You started bodybuilding at a young age. You won competitions. You were a metal worker, became an actor. We'll talk about it in a minute, but you also own a line of fitness equipment. I'm like, what kind of dedication does that take? Do you have a routine that keeps you moving and going every day?
Consistency. I train every day. I do high reps. I'm very consistent. For example, I do cardio for 45 minutes
Wow.
and at waist light. I'm 73. I used to train heavy. I used to bench 560, but now it's all about motivation.
And do you have any like mental things that you do, or are you just pretty sharp? You just stay focused and get it
The
done?
most important thing, the key of all of this is the fear. You got to embrace the fear factor. If you embrace fear, you can do anything. If you're passionate about
Yeah,
something, you're passionate,
I like that.
that makes you powerful. Well, most people deal with fear.
Yeah,
People are afraid to achieve things in life. They're afraid to take risk. I love taking risks.
yeah,
You only live once. You
that's
can't
right.
turn 75, 80, 85, say, if I should have, I should have. That it's out. It's done. You're done. It's all about every day to maximize what you have, your personal power and your vision and your short-term and long-term goals.
okay. Yeah, because you're like 73 and you look amazing. Okay, so like I know I'm like 60 and look amazing, but
Sure you do.
so what's your diet? I mean, what do you, I mean?
I eat like meat, fish, fruit, and vegetables. I eat my calories. I don't drink my calories. I like my
Yeah,
occasional wine in the evening. I eat healthy. I stay away from like fried food, very high food, like processed with chemicals, stuff
yeah.
like that. I try to eat natural as possible.
Yeah, I try to eat pretty natural myself, but I do find a donut in my hand every once in a while.
That's okay. But the thing is, don't have the donut at midnight. Have the
Yeah.
donut 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Well, I learned that actually. There was a little phase about 2 years ago where I was getting on Postmates and I wanted a donut. The only way to get it was to order a dozen of them. So the donuts would get there and I'd cut like a little tiny piece off of each one. And then I was like, dude, I can't be eating donuts at 10 o'clock at night. So I just deleted Postmates, got out of that habit. So now if I want a donut, I eat it in the morning, but I don't eat donuts at
You
all.
know what the whole trick that people don't realize? If you have a dessert, if you have of it, get a napkin, cover it, walk away. It's always good to leave the table you're eating a little hungry than stuff in your face.
Hmm.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
But people they just feel like sometimes some people like to eat one meal a day.
Hmm.
Your body can't process that. Like for example, and you got to be consistent. You got to eat 3 or 4 times a day, like protein, carbohydrates, and vegetables. If you want to lose weight or gain weight,
Important to have a balanced diet, eat multiple
exactly.
times a day. Yeah. Yeah. Some people do the one, meal thing. And I feel like that's really got to mess your metabolism in your body up.
Because like in the 1970s, when you were like training for Mr. Universe and everything, no one knew. I mean, how did you? Because you guys more or less had to figure out yourself on like the nutrition, because the nutrition, what they were telling us to do was just stupid. It was like eat lots of carbs.
At the time I competed in the 70s, we weren't keen about the nutrition like today. So we went on a high protein, low carbohydrate diet. So you want to burn the fat and then you feed the muscle with the protein. But at the same time, you feel like a zombie, you're watching TV. But today, because of the cardio machine, you can eat more carbohydrates, you can eat more, you can burn more fat. Because when you do aerobics, after 20 minutes, you start to burn fat. Before 20 minutes, you don't burn fat. That's why you have aerobics, you have anaerobic. Anaerobic is weight training. So you need to combine anaerobic and aerobic training together.
And I'm guessing it's important to eat like minimally processed carbs, right? Like we don't want to eat a sandwich with.
Eat good, sleep good, and train good. Nothing.
So we're talking white rice, sweet potatoes, or
Yam, pasta.
pasta.
But
Ooh.
anytime you have portion size, it should be the size of your fist. That's the size.
You got a big fist.
Exactly. That's why I eat more than you.
Can I have my portions the size of your fist? I'd be a little fuller. I think I'd be a little happier.
Yeah. I got to tell you, when you walk on the street, people get confused thinking you're Bruce Willis.
Oh my God, all the
I know.
time.
Tell them the Italy story.
There's a couple Bruce Willis stories. One lady in Italy, we were out filming in Italy. We had a Pope's cap. I forget what it's called, but we were just on the side doing some like interview stuff, and he doesn't hear well. So this lady was like, Bruce, can I take a picture? And I go, hold on, he's filming. I'll get you one in a second. As soon as he's done, I tapped on the shoulder. Hey, Bruce. And I knew he wouldn't be able to hear me.
Right.
Good. Bruce, this lady wants a picture with you. Okay, no problem. And she stands up and she's walking away. Oh, I just got a picture with Bruce Willis. It's happened on the airplane before. Like,
Yeah.
I see people looking at like, there was one time when I think Bruce Willis was on like the cover of Men's Life or something. And they were like looking at the cover and like back at Rick.
Has he ever been here?
No, he hasn't. No,
Too bad.
no, I've never got to meet him. Like,
Yeah, I met him a long time. He's a cool guy. He would love to have been here. But unfortunately, now he's dealing with aphasia.
Yeah, no, he was definitely one of my favorite actors
yeah.
because Pulp Fiction was like my movie of choice growing up, and
all
I
right.
mean, he was just a badass character in that movie.
So just a quick survey: is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yeah.
That's what they say, right? Yeah. If Lou says it's a Christmas movie, I think it's forever a Christmas movie.
I
Remember that whole building explosion, everything, and Bruce Willis' wife said, only John can do that. Boom, 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 everything. Yeah.
And I think there's a Christmas tree in the movie too, right?
because the whole movie happened at at Christmas. Yeah, so like
I think the only better Christmas movie is Home Alone.
Yeah.
no, I'm still a stickler for the old school. A Wonderful Life. I still love A Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, yeah, and Christmas Vacation.
There's
What-
definitely some.
What
good
about
ones.
the original Time Machine with Rod Taylor?
See, I've never seen that one.
Which one?
The
Dude.
Time Machine
The Time Machine?
Okay,
with Rod Taylor. You ever see it?
I don't think I've seen it.
Are you joking?
I might have seen it. I just don't. I
No,
just
it's
can't-
1960. It one of the greatest at the time special effects movie. It's an original Time Machine.
Is it called the original Time Machine or just
No,
the
it's called The
Machine?
Time Machine. Was directed by a director named George Powell.
All right, I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's amazing. But back then, the special effect, when I was a kid, when I saw it, I was so mesmerized. But today, when you watch it, you could pick
Yeah.
the mistakes because now we have so many different computer generated films.
Yeah, I mean, special effects just don't hit like they did. I mean, special effects for me, I'm born in '82, so like, late '80s,
If you look
'90s
at-
stuff,
If you
but
look at the original
'60s.
Star Wars today, like the special effects are pretty cheesy.
Yeah.
But for the time, they were groundbreaking, right?
Yeah, no. So so you had to do all your stunts on the Hulk.
Yes.
Okay. So like, because you picked up cars and everything else like that, so it's just like they had like a hydraulic underneath them or something like that. Or...
Well, what happened? They take the engine, they raise it halfway to have the ability to push it, and then it was all makeshift. And as a matter of fact, a lot of time I do all the breakthrough window it was made out of glass, not glass, hard sugar.
Yeah.
So if I had to go through a glass, but the thing is that Bill Bixby one time said to me, people say that Lou Ferrigno went through the window. If you hire someone else, it's too obvious. So I just knew that I wanted to do all my own stunts because to make the character believable.
Yeah.
I mean, the audience will pick it up. They have
It's
good.
probably hard to find a stunt double for you as well.
I did have a stunt double. He did, I would say maybe jumping off of maybe a third story window, but pretty obvious if you get close enough, you could tell that it's someone else. But fortunately, he did some of the major stunts, which I didn't have to do, probably a few of them.
Yeah, I'm sure it's hard to replace that Hulk-like physique you got there.
Yeah, but here's the best part. When I was filming, the contact lens, it had peephole vision.
Okay.
Yes, it means that I had tunnel vision.
Oh, wow.
As the Hulk, I couldn't see the white vision, so I had to focus on doing the scene in front of me. It was very painful.
Yeah, how was that? You had to wear them like all day, or would you take them out?
In and out, 15. Sometimes if they pick care of, sometimes if I scratch the cornea or something, and then they have to numb it. It was horrible. Yeah. You wonder why I was so pissed.
Well, I would have never known because I mean, you're a pretty chill guy. You're easy to talk to. You're fun, and I mean, even like Arnold says in a podcast. I listen to Arnold's podcast sometime. He had one talking about you, saying what a nice, kind person you were. So
Well, nobody's better than anybody. I judge people for who they are. That's important. Money doesn't mean anything. The most important thing in life is the love and the relationship and the best in people. I mean, that's what life is about.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's awesome that someone like you can have so much success in so many different aspects of life, and still appreciate the companionship of your normal, regular, everyday person.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you got any business things or anything like that going on now?
I've got 5 films coming out. One
Wow.
of them is a horror film called The Hermit. He's a cannibalistic pig farmer. He makes beef jerkies out of people. Yeah. And the other one is an action film. Another one called Flash Before the Bang. It's a movie about this bunch of kids that are deaf. They win the championship in Oregon. They have a lot of opposition against them. And then it's in a movie with Dean Cain, a lot of stuff. So I've been pretty busy.
You also have a son who is pretty good looking, if I don't say. He's a successful actor as well.
Yeah, he did that show. We got 3 kids, so basically everybody's happy. I'm happy. So
how does that feel having your son so successful, kind of following your footsteps in the Hollywood thing, knowing you raised a good young man?
It's great because my wife said to me, ex-wife at the time, she said, "I'm sorry you gave him your name because all the rerun checks he gets come to me."
I'm sure he didn't mind.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Corey. We'll be at the hotel bar and he has the same son as his name, so he'll sign
really?
Richard Harrison and put it on his dad's room number.
Yeah. Just catch it.
Yeah, you ever run into that problem?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. At one point there was my grandfather, my dad, me, and my son Corey were 4 Richard Harrisons all at once.
It can be a nightmare getting on a plane together.
Yeah. And me and Corey have run into that problem so many times because we both got like when we go to get on a plane, like they'll give me his ticket, they'll give me hit, it'll get all screwed up like that.
I got to say something to you, Rick. When I came in yesterday to do a signing, I admired that you built this place, you create this place, because I see all these tourists come in, the excitement they see, all these different items here. I'm impressed with that. I think I want to commend him for that. This is fantastic because the fact that this is like a very exhilarating experience. Seeing the smile on people's faces, you can watch a different item. It's great. Especially, thank you.
Because like, you had your TV show and everything, but there was no Incredible Hulk store to go to. I mean, there's actually the store here, so we have people show up all the time.
Yeah.
And we actually go out there and take photographs of the customers and stuff sometimes, and so it's a good thing.
If I was 13 years old, I would have a bed right there. I would never leave the store.
I like to think of us as the curator of collections, right? You can go out there, you can buy a watch, you can buy a diamond ring, but we have all kinds of cool collectibles and stuff that you wouldn't just find in your typical store. Yeah, maybe you'll walk into an antique shop and find this stuff, but we really do help curate people's collections. Every day, multiple people leave this pawn shop so excited to have that tool or, that Pokemon card or that sword or that helmet and go home take it on the airplane, put it up on their
Yeah.
shelf, and look at it. And like you said at the beginning, you know, they have a memory that lasts so much longer and feels so much better than going and buying a shirt that says all I have to show is this shirt from my trip to Vegas.
Yeah. But the thing is, I was very impressed with the staff here. The staff is so important. The customer service.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was very impressed. I've been
Well,
to,
no,
I've been
'cause
to some shady
one
places.
thing in
I've
business,
hired them all.
no, one thing in business I do realize, if you treat your employees well, you pay them well. I mean, like I have crazy Christmas parties and everything else like that. Um, you'll get the best people. You know, it's just what it takes. Just I mean, you take if you treat them well, they'll treat you well, and
Yeah.
that's why, and they'll stick around. Like, I have people out there that work for me for over 20 years. So,
Right here, I'm one of them. I've been here for 22 years. I'm 42 years old.
oh God,
I started working here like
Do you get a raise every year?
I haven't got a raise in 17 years, but to be fair, or 16 years we've been making the show. I still have my base pay salary from Rick, and I get to keep my insurance. And in return, I come in, I sign autographs all he wants, I meet with tours, and
That's
you
great.
know, help out a little bit here and there.
That's
But
great.
you know, Rick's like a father figure to me,
Family.
and working with Rick has been so much fun, and being able to, you know, go through this experience of working at the pawn shop, turning into a TV show, and then being massively successful has been cool to have Rick there to, you know, help guide me along the way. So
Well, especially yesterday, I met people from all over the world.
Yeah.
A woman from here came from Nepal,
yeah,
India, Australia, China, Istanbul. I mean, yesterday was amazing.
it's crazy how popular we are
Yeah.
outside of the U.S. We're pretty big in the U.S., but you go to other countries, like anywhere in Latin America, like we get so many cool people from Latin America come in. Over the last 2 years, a lot of people from like the Netherlands and Holland have been coming in, and you know they're still watching the episodes from the beginning, so they're like, "Oh, you look different." I'm like, "Well, you're probably watching episodes from 16 years ago, but
Yeah.
the stories are cool."
here's a weird fact most people don't know. You know, the number one export of the United States is airplanes. Number two is TV and movies. It's just something about the rest of the world. They just don't have the magic that we have in this country. So, like you've been overseas.
Yeah.
You turn on the TV, 80% of what you see is American TV shows. So when a celebrity shows up in Brazil or China or Japan or something like that, those celebrities are rarely there. So it is a big deal when you show up over there. And I think that's why the fans go like crazy over there because they rarely get the celebrities showing up in their countries. And when they get one, it sort of goes nuts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we just talked about you love shooting guns and everything. So do you collect anything besides guns?
I love optics. Zeiss, Swarovski,
Yeah, Swarovski, that's a nice one.
Zeiss, Swarovski.
I got a Collis, which is made by Swarovski. It's pretty nice. Yeah.
Yeah, because what's fascinating about optics, the fact that you could bring object close to you, especially if you want to look far away. It's amazing. It's technology of optics. I like collecting that because all that goes together when it comes to shooting. You have the rifle scope, you have the optic.
hmm
That's my passion.
And do you have any like cool old optics in your collection, or do you collect more of the modern?
I
stuff?
do have an older one, old Zeiss one I bought many years ago because Zeiss been around for
Yeah.
so long. But especially that, and back, if you talk about gun, back in World War II, no, the Vietnam War, you there was a guy named Carlos Hathcock. Okay, he was the #1 sniper, 132 confirmed kills. At the time, he was using an 8-power scope. Today, you have a scope that could shoot 40, 50 power.
Yeah.
You could see a bird maybe a quarter of a mile away. But just think about it, 8-power scope.
Yeah.
And in those days when they shot guns, it was amazing. I mean, those guys can shoot, especially with the iron sight, able to maintain the gun, not to jam it up. It's a whole science.
Yeah, there's a huge difference between 8 and 50. I think I have like a 50 or a 52 as my biggest one. And then when you get down to 8, it's a whole different ballgame,
Oh, yeah.
especially when you're long range shooting.
Hmm.
So that's pretty incredible. Yeah, no, but optics are really cool because we're in entertainment, we deal with cameras all the time. Um, the cameras over time, they just go down and down in value.
You know what I learned about optics? You may have not the best gun in the world, but if you got the best optic,
Mhm.
that gun will outperform other guns because if you have poor optics, you can't see the target. It's not
Okay.
clear. That's you. Especially today, you have range finders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
I make sure I put nice optics on. Like I think every optic I have costs more than the
Yeah.
gun that it's on.
Yeah, but the thing is with the optics, like cameras and stuff like that, the price of camera goes down over years because there's new tech and everything. But the lenses and the optics, they just keep on going. Even nowadays, I mean, like some of the camera optics, the lenses are identical. You buy the, you put a lens on that was made 20 years ago, and now 4 or 5 times as much as it costs new because lens prices don't go down. The cameras do. I
Yeah.
mean, and just uh, even World War II optics, they're remember the scene we did with the big eye Japanese binoculars?
Oh yeah, we've gotten some cool optics, binoculars, and stuff in over the shop over the time
Yeah,
too.
it's fun.
We'll have to send you some pictures next time we get something in.
Okay.
We'll give you that 70% discount I was talking about.
50.
Thank you.
He's tight. He's
Yeah.
tight.
No, but I do have a set of Japanese binoculars that are just like this big from World War II.
Wow. Is that the one you mount on the ship?
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
shipped out, and yeah.
Well, speaking about stuff you collect, we asked you to bring an item in, and you brought a picture because you are traveling, and we'll put it up here on the screen for everyone to look at it. I'm going to show Rick. I'm sure you don't need to look at this to tell me what this is about. Can you
Okay.
tell us a little about it?
Okay. That's the costume for the original movie I did, Hercules, back in 1981. That's the wrist strap uh, around the waist, and also have the cape and everything. I built a beautiful. I also like to make furniture at the time. I do a lot of woodwork, and I built a beautiful cherry wood case with plexiglass glass to mount that costume. That's the only costume ever in the world that I play Hercules. That's an original costume.
And how was it wearing those shoes? They don't look very comfortable.
They were like sandals, uncomfortable. You got to remember at the time I filmed in Rome, Italy. So we filmed Wars of Ruins in Italy. And back in the 80s, not like today, so I had to be very careful because we have sandals. You step on anything sharp, like rocks, you can injure yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the Hercules character, that's the way they portrayed themselves back then, because that was.
Well, I think it's pretty cool, and I got to give you thumbs up for the woodwork. I come from a woodworking family. I don't have the talent my dad had, but he used to like hand make custom cabinets with wood joints, no screws and stuff like that. So there was a time when my whole house was done up in like custom style woodwork and everything. Yeah. So I appreciate good woodwork,
Yeah.
but that's pretty cool. So you've had this just in your collection. Is it still in your collection?
Yes, it is. All these years.
And could I trade you any of Rick's things for this?
I would love to. I like to move it. I mean, yeah, because there's the things I like to have. You know,
All right.
something. If you want to have something, why not have it? You just want to have it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, no, this is an awesome one of a kind item, and I would trade you anything Rick has for it. I would trade you anything I had, but
Okay.
the only thing I have is a really cool samurai sword. I don't think you would want any of my Pokemon
No,
cards.
you can do better than that.
But I do have a cool samurai sword that's 500 years old. It's freaking awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
So I heard the new samurai sword. They said it could cut a car door or something.
I mean, I guess it all depends on how they forge the steel. Rick could probably tell us a
They
little
say-
bit
Well,
more
no, I
about
mean, it really is a crazy process. I mean, like, they're incredible. The crazy thing is like you see a samurai sword, it's got a little slight bend in
Yeah.
it. The magic to a samurai sword is the blade is really super hardened steel, but the back of the blade is a softer steel. So that way you can hit something with it, it won't break. Okay, it might chip a little on the blade, but it
Right.
won't break. And the way they do that is when they make the sword, it's straight, and then they put a little insulating material along the blade, and they dip it in water like that, so the back contracts a little bit. The back contracts faster than the front, and that gives it that bend. That makes the blade part super strong, hardened steel, and the back of the blade softer steel. So when you hit, it's
Interesting.
not brittle. Yeah,
Wow.
there's in the folding process and all that. It's samurai swords are cool. It's like that's why there's whole books on them and there's whole careers on
Well,
them.
you got a lot. You know a lot about history. It's amazing. You're
Yeah, kind of a nerd. Yeah,
Kind of. I mean, Rick's strongest quality is he knows a little bit or a lot about everything. I love talking history with him, or if I want to know how something works, like if Rick's not around, sure, I'll Google it. But if Rick's around, I'd rather just sit down and listen to
Yeah.
Rick tell me firsthand like how something was made or
Yeah.
how something was worked. It's
Yeah.
fascinating to listen to him talk about history and stuff.
Chum jokes around how Wikipedia if I'm around.
Yeah.
Well, no,
He searches better than Wikipedia does.
so when I was a kid, I mean, we didn't have a lot of money when I was a kid, and I had epilepsy when I was a kid, and there's sometimes I couldn't walk for days at a
Really?
time. I was just stuck in bed, and we were, this was the '70s, and there was one TV in the house, and my grandma was going to watch her stories, and that's so my mom got me books at the library. I just read books, had a fascination with history books, and I just by the time I'm like 12 years old, I mean, like, I was thinking like 12, 13 years old, most TV shows I didn't like. I'd just prefer to read a book. And I've just been that way my whole life.
That's why you mentioned the movie It's a Wonderful Life, because in those years, those movies in the 40s, that's why it affects you, because it's about life. Like, for example, the original Frankenstein.
Yeah.
I've seen it 500 times.
I've
But
actually seen it.
No, but like you mentioned, It's a Wonderful Life. Those kind of film, like when you're young, you have a TV, you don't have movie theaters, you don't have the like Netflix streaming, but those kind of movies affects you, especially that. Because Frankenstein, every one of us feels like Frankenstein. Those kind of movies. That's why as a kid, I had that. The same-
Yeah, I was already ruined. We had, movie theaters and everything. Thank goodness we didn't have iPhones and iPads yet when I grew up, so I still played outside. But
Yeah,
we had a lot of entertainment options in the
stickball,
90s.
hand.
Yeah.
Well, no, like when we were kids, we were kids. It was everything like playing. Every night, we'd play kick the can. Or,
Yes.
we'd play dodgeball. We'd say something like that. All the kids would have to come in when the streetlights come in, or the parents would just come outside and start yelling, "It's time for dinner."
Where did you grow up?
San Diego.
Okay.
And you grew up in Brooklyn?
Yeah.
Two opposite sides of the coast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys were both playing kick the can. I guess, culture.
I did that, and then, but my favorite was stickball. And then we had a Spalding. We got jerseys. You rub it against the concrete, and it makes it look pink again.
So you're actually using a stick or is it a bat?
No, it's a stick you buy in the store. A stick.
Oh, okay.
It's called stickball. A stick. Yeah.
You ever play stickball?
Yeah, we played stickball. We play.
I thought stickball was just like a nickname for like street baseball. I didn't realize it was like its own.
No, the
thing.
ball doesn't go as far.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to break windows.
Spalding.
Okay.
Yeah.
We used to play over the line. It's a game they play down like. It's kind of a San Diego game. It's sort of like baseball, but you only have 3 people on
You
each
know,
team.
the change today, it was much more of a social thing today.
Yeah.
Texting, headphone.
Yeah.
I mean, we're missing that camaraderie among the
Mhm.
social relationship. That's what we're lacking today.
I'm
Yeah.
so glad I just missed that generation. I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't have an iPhone. I think until maybe like
Yeah.
around the time we started. A few years before we started
Yeah.
filming.
Well, all my
Podstars.
kids are grown now, but like, it drives me crazy. I go to like a restaurant and I see everybody on their phones. Like
Yeah.
my kids, like when we're younger, we go to a dinner. One of them pulled out their phone. I'm like, hey, no. I'm paying for dinner here and we're going out. You playing your phone at home.
Exactly.
yeah.
It's rude.
Yeah, it is rude. Yeah. That's my whole
Especially if
thing.
you go to the casinos here. It's like everybody's walking towards me with the iPhone. Excuse me. Everybody's like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, how many people a year get killed because they just walk right off the sidewalk going,
oh, yeah.
Lots playing
PlayStation,
Pokemon Go.
PlayStation.
That's for sure.
you still play Pokemon Go though, right?
I do, but a lot of people get injured because they're glued to their phone. I'm a sophisticated Pokemon Go player. I drive around in my car and play it. At like
While
eight-
you're driving?
8 miles an hour because it gives you
What?
credit for walking. Yeah, when I had a place in
There's a cop right here.
I'm in the passenger seat.
You get a hefty ticket.
No, I will like go in a quiet neighborhood because I wake up really early. So
I got a better one for you. 3 years ago, a friend of mine came yesterday to see me here. One night, he across the street here. They gave him a jaywalking ticket, $176. Right? Jaywalking.
they got to get their money. I
know.
guess.
I'm-
Yeah. I don't really think they gave jaywalking tickets out until recently. It was a
totally.
thing, but
Yeah, are those here in town?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've
Not
never.
in front of your store. I mean, somewhere.
they jaywalk in front of the store all day long. They're out there in the middle of the street trying to get pictures of this pawn shop sign. It's crazy. The city actually came in and put up a rail. I'm so happy they did that because it's much safer for people. But yeah, people will go the lengths to capture their life on the phone instead of just living
Get
it.
that picture. Well, it's like on the strip during New Year's. I mean, like you literally have people climbing up the street signs, and then every year on New Year's, someone falls off the street sign and then kills themselves or hurts themselves because they want to get that perfect picture with their cell phone.
It's all about
That's
that
why when
perfect
you look at a
picture.
place like this, you go back many different generations because it takes you back in time. There's nothing where iPhone had to do with historical piece at time.
Yeah. Yeah, it used to be, you would take a camera around and
Yeah.
snap a picture every once in a while, and it didn't really get in the way of day-to-day life, and people communicated by calling or talking. But now it's like everything is over a text message or a WhatsApp or an Instagram or a TikTok. And I mean, people just get sucked into these algorithms of these
Yeah.
new apps and live their whole life.
No, when we
on the
grew up,
internet.
it was absolutely great because there's
Yeah.
absolutely no evidence of the bad stuff we did.
Yeah, with me neither. I remember as a kid hanging out at the park, like we could get in trouble because cell phones still weren't a thing yet.
Right.
There'd be, people walking the loop all day long exercising, but we could cause trouble because by the time they were done and got back home, they had long forgot about the trouble we were causing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But now you got to be, you got to be careful that you don't
good
do
thing
something.
you could think about iPhone today is GPS because the old days you maybe get instruction on piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then one time I had to get instructions, right? They said, drive 1 mile to a so-and-so road, make a left 2 blocks, and there's a man with a beard. When you pass a man sitting on the porch with a beard, 3 houses down, not 1 block down, that's where the place is. So
You're like, I hope the bearded man is out there.
listen to this. So I'm driving, right? I couldn't find it. I'm looking around for a man with a beard. I couldn't find a man with a beard. I kept driving. Suddenly, I went all the way back home. I couldn't find it. I called the person and said, you gave me these instructions, this and this. And he said, excuse me, I don't mean to be rude, but the man with the beard died yesterday.
Well, I think that's a good way to end today's podcast. Lou, it's been amazing talking to you. You've had quite the story.
Thank
You're
you.
a gentleman. You're a
Thanks
scholar.
for having me. I appreciate coming here. I'm going to come again. I'm having a blast being here. Thank you, Rick.
Well, after those movies come out, if you'd love to come back and talk about them, we'd
Oh,
love
I'd
to
love
have you
to.
back.
Okay.
And I'll see you at Collecticon LA.
You got it.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick.
This is Pawn After Dark.